It's Ginger from StampingTheCape.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here with the March Paper Pumpkin Kit and my alternatives. I've been among the missing for a little bit. I've been trashing my craft room, cleaning out, straightening out, and trying to come up with a better organizational area and a video area, and this is not it, but I figured I better get this done soon. So this was this month's Paper Pumpkin Kit. These were the samples that that are recommended in the kit. It was a really cute one with a nice little pop-up surprise on the inside, and there was an additional stamp set that has numbers and a balloon and some actually I can show it to you, has some like the TH or ST or ND, so you can get you know, first, second, third, whatnot, and it has all these numbers in a dotted pattern, polka dots, which are very, very in. That was an additional stamp set that was included, and the normal one was this one that has Today We Celebrate You. It's your, and you can say we're going to use birthday and happy and a little candle and a party hat and these little streamer things. So that was the stamp set from the kit. So I try to use as much of the kit as I can, because I know a lot of folks just like to get the kits. They don't really want to get invested into buying other products. So I try to do as much as I can using the kit materials. But I do want to show you how you can expand the kit a little bit. So I don't know, did I show you the inside of this one? Another pop-up. This one has the candles, and this one has the like presents with bows. So that was from the kit. So what I decided to do was my first card, I got decided to sacrifice one of the pop-ups, and I actually cut it in half down the middle, just laid it on here. So this is actually half the pop-up, and I just stamped it and took a few of the hats and stuck them on, and I took the candles and stuck those inside. And then what I did was I also sacrificed one envelope because the liners were really cute, and I took the negative space of the numbers. We had the numbers that you can pop out and put on. So I decided to use those, and the happy is from the stamp set. But then I thought, well, so many people may have purchased during celebration, and it had the word, the Hello Cupcake had the word sweet. So I covered up the stamp and inked up the word sweet and Happy Sweet 16. So I thought that was kind of cute. So that's that one. And then for this one, I made a slider card, and basically all I did was use components from the kit, and again I sacrificed one of the pop-ups from the inside, so I just made one little cake. And how I did the pull tab was I just put dimensionals down this piece. This was left over from, I believe it was from this pop-up, and it measures, let's see, let me get my ruler real quick, sorry about that. So this measures 2.5 by, I think it only came out to be like 2.5 by 3.5, and then I added this little strip that was also part of the kit to extend it a little bit longer. And I just put dimensionals down right on the edge. I don't know if you can see that, but on the edges of both sides, and then at the bottom as well, because I wanted a stopper. And then I trimmed this tag that was part of the kit down so that it would fit easily between those two dimensionals, so that you could pull it up and pull it out. And the word pull is actually from an older Paper Pumpkin kit from February 2017. We also had some pull cards at that time, and there's you know, a pull there, but you could easily just write in the word pull at the top neatly. And I sticked I stuck this little hat on just so as a stopper. There's a dimensional on the back of it so that when you slide it in, it'll only go so far right there. So the inside is plain right now, but and again I use scraps from leftover pieces, just a 1/2 inch, to stamp my sentiment on and just trim the ends at an angle. So that's another option. And then, well, there's always 50th birthday parties coming along, or those milestones. It doesn't necessarily have to be 50, but I took a Stampin' Blend. And I tried a Stampin' Write marker. It didn't quite cover the cardstock because of the finish on the cardstock. It's a dye-based ink in the Stampin' Write markers, so that didn't quite work. So I used the Stampin' Blend, which is an alcohol marker. You probably could use, if you only have a Sharpie, if you have a black Sharpie and want to make them black. Same thing for the candles. And then I figured, well, everybody must have a black ink pad from some Paper Pumpkin kit somewhere, if they don't own one themselves. So I just stamped that on this yellow tag piece, and these little pieces were the remnants left over from this tag. So I just cut those off, and I used them on this card. So that's that one. And then this is the one I'm going to show you how I made this. This is a slider card. I've been wanting to try one of these, and normally it's made with a 5.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, but we don't have that. We have a 5.5 by 8.5, but I'll show you how we doctor this up to be able to get the width that we need to make that. And then my final project, I did bring in the Sweet Baby stamp set. I just thought, you know, I wanted to show you how you could change up the cards and use them for something else. And my cousin's daughter just announced she's going to be having a baby boy, so that was sort of my inspiration. So I have colored my images with Stampin' Blends, but I used the pop-up in reverse, and I used some of the Gingham Gala on it, and some of the numbers on there. And then this is also an old Paper Pumpkin stamp set. This one is from June of last year, of 2018, and it had the congrats, and it actually said, we just wanted to say, but I cut my stamp. Don't be afraid to trim your stamps up to make them more usable if you need to. So I just cut off the we and used just wanted to say. And if you ever want to add the we to it, you can just stick it back on. It's fine. It doesn't do any harm to them. I encourage you to play around with your stamps and you get more use out of them. So that's that. So let's get started on the pull card. As I said, normally you would need a 5.5 by 11.5, but I'll show you how I did that. And I'm going to have to use a different card base because I don't have any more of the stripes, but that's okay. So we're going to open our card, and we're going to score a 1/2 inch on either end. We want the center part to be, what did I say, it's 1/2 inch. So we want the center to end up being, let's see, 1/2 inch is there, so 3 3/4 is what your piece is going to be. So let me get my cutting blade, and I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch on each end. And these will get folded over. These are going to be part of our securing mechanism when we fold it up. Okay. So we've got that. So these will end up just getting folded over like this. Now what you'll also need to extend this, now I've done it with coordinating cardstock. You won't really see this piece, so it doesn't have to be coordinating. But I pulled out a piece of Pool Party, which actually that might not even be, but anyway, because like I said, you would need a piece 5.5 by 11 inches, but we're going to attach this piece to our card base to make it the length we need. And it actually, I think, only comes out to 10.5 inches in the end, but anyway. And I'll put out a PDF with measurements and whatnot so you can create this. So this piece is 3 3/8 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to use the tear and tape that came with the kit to attach this to this side. And because we want to use something that's pretty strong, so we want to keep it all together. What did I just lose? Okay. And I think I just lost my little pull strip. Just fell. It's just a piece of plastic bag. Oh, no, this is what I want. There we go. There it is. Okay. So now I'm going to just set this in here right at the score lines, line it up top and bottom so that it's even, and just seal that down. So that makes our extension. So what makes this little mechanism work, which is really kind of a clever thing, all it is, it's a piece of plastic bag. Now I know it's getting hard for a lot of places, for a lot of people to find plastic bags. In fact, our town has banned them. So when I go to another town and I shop there and they're still using them, I take advantage of saving them. And so what you're going to do is cut about a 1-inch strip, and you only need it to be at least maybe 12 inches long. You'll still be trimming off some of it because it's going to be too long anyway. So you need it at least, I'd say, if this is 5 1/2, you want some overlap. So it's 5 1/2 into it's 11. So 11 1/2 max. But anyway, so I'm going to overlap that, and I'm just going to trim some of this off because we really don't need it that long. And then I'm just going to put this together, secure it with some Scotch tape. Now you don't want it super tight, but you don't want it loose. You want to be able to have it slide back and forth. So just put some tape on there, and I'm just going to put one more piece on the other side just to really make sure it stays. Okay, so you should be able to pick up your, oh, you don't want any tape hanging over. I see that. That's going to be a problem because you don't want this sticking to the cardstock. So you should be able to just take this and slide it around. And for some reason, I keep getting caught in some place. I don't know why. I haven't had the best of luck all the time. You got to be... There we go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I've got 2 pieces of just plain Whisper White, plain white cardstock. And these measure 3 1/4 by 5 1/8. And we're going to take one and place it here, and we're going to put a piece of tear and tape at the top of that plastic bag. So right here, you don't want that tape hanging over either. You want to make sure it's all within your plastic. And we're going to take this and place that right in the center. Centered. We can move this afterwards, but might as well start off centered. And we're going to place that at the top, and just like that. And then we're going to flip this over, and we're going to do the same thing, but at the bottom of that tape. Don't slide it yet, don't move it yet, but we want to have the same thing going on at the bottom. And that tape might just hang over. I might have to move that tape a little bit. So the good thing about tear and tape is you can just roll any adhesive that's hanging over the edge, just roll it back towards your plastic bag, because if it's sticking to the cardstock, you're going to hinder your rolling process there. So this one's going to get stuck at the bottom. Oops. And make sure when you do that, you're actually going to be covering to the score line here, as I was forgetting to do. So you want to make sure it's within that area. There you go. So it should, hopefully, when we fold up the card, we are going to be folding it the other way, but we want to see if we can get it to work. And yes, we're going to get that mechanism working. Okay, perfect. So before we seal this up, I'm going to, now one thing I am using is a 1 1/4 circle punch, because you do want to have a little finger grab area here so that you can grab your slide and pull it out. So, you know, if you have a 1 inch punch, that works fine, but I'm just using a 1 1/4. And I'm going to punch that at what I will call the top. I think I'll make this the top of my card, halfway in, approximately in the middle. There we go. Okay. So that gives me my finger grab. So now we're going to, let's get this thing back in the center here. That will never do. Come on. Oh no, don't tear. Oh golly. Get back in there. There we go. Okay. So when we seal this up, we have to make sure, we're going to put tear and tape on this side, but we want to make sure that it goes around that piece of slide card so that it doesn't hinder it. So it'll be like this. So we're going to put tear and tape on here. Oh, if you want to do, actually we could do our stamping first. Why don't we do that? And let's see, this is going to be the front of the card, and we want this to be, okay, grab it. Oh, guess this has to be the one. What am I doing here? Okay. Oh, it helps when you use the finger part. Okay, I think I want this. You're going to want, I guess, the one in the front to be the front of your card. So the piece that has the cardstock in the front, that should be your front. So on mine, I had the balloons, I stamped a couple of balloons. Oh, and then I used just a fine marker to make some string. So let's see, my balloon stamp, and I'm using the Poppy Parade, which is the color that came with the kit. And I'm going to use my foam pad. I find that a lot of, which is one of the reasons they started providing the foam pad, is solid images will stamp much better when you have something foamy in the back to give it a little cushion. It helps to remove a lot of the ink. So I'm just going to use my foam pad. And there's one. And I'll do one other like this. I mean, you could do one, you could write your sentiment, you know, or write whatever you want to say to the person who's receiving the card in there. And I'm just going to get my smoky slate marker, but a black one would work as well, just to do the strings. So I'm just going to hand draw strings coming down and a little loop at the top and a little loop. Okay, just lightly, just to give it the sense of that. And then I would be putting my gift card on the bottom, because I'd use some glue dots that came with the kit. You could use your tear and tape and attach a gift card at the bottom. And while I have the ink out, I think I'm going to do my sentiment. I don't need the pad for that. So I just cut from a scrap that was left over from the card middle, the pop-up. I just cut 1/2 inch strips from that I'm going to stamp my sentiment on, and then I'm going to hand cut those. So we're going to do birthday on one, and then we'll do it's your on the other, and then I'll just trim those up. And I'm using the reverse white side of the cardstock was That one was beige. I think the other one is like light pink, but if you want to use the color, you can use the color. It's your card. So let me just trim those and then we'll be ready to go. Just cutting these at an angle, the same angle. And same thing here. Okay, so our sentiment is ready. Easy peasy there. Let me close up the ink so I don't have any ink accidents. All right, so now we can put our slider together. Now let me close that up. Come on. I don't know why I have such an issue. Once it seems to get going a few times, it works better. All right, so I'm going to put my tear and tape here. And I'm going to put it closer to the outer edge on the fold side, from top to bottom. We want to make it very secure. And then, like I said, when you put this in, you want to make sure this piece goes behind it so it doesn't hinder it. And just line up your ends and secure that. So, hopefully this will work now. Oh, this is the front. So there we go. We've got our... Don't know why this sticks. Hopefully you'll have better luck. I don't know. Maybe it's my bag. I don't know. But I don't know why it's sticking. The other one is working fine. All right. So I just took the pop-up pieces from the inside, and all I'm doing is simply attaching them. Actually, I didn't use dimensionals except for the last one. So I'm just using snail, and I'm just placing them in a random side-by-side order. Like that. And then this one I am going to use the dimensionals to pop it up into the front. I don't know, I like to use lots of dimensionals. And I don't know if you've had issues with some of the dimensionals we've had have been peeling the adhesive right off of them. I find that if you use, and I should be using my take your pick tool, but if I use the point of my scissors and just gently, you just want to grab the very, very, very top layer of them. That seems to do the trick. Let's see, and this one is going to be popped up here. Okay, and then I'm going to use I used actually some of the glue dots from the kit, but I have my adhesive here, so I'm just going to use that. The red one's going to go on the red, and my blue one is going to go on the blue, or Coastal Cabana, or whatever you want to call it. That one's going to go there. And then I am going to use dimensionals to also pop up this bow on that box. And I'm putting the dimensionals at the top because it's going to overlap the box that's already on dimensionals, and we don't want it to be off balance. We want to keep it on the same plane, so that way you just stick it right above it and you're good. And then I'm going to just do my sentiment with dimensionals. And we will be done. So hopefully your slider will work a little better than mine. I do not know why it is giving me such grief. I've seen it done on videos before, and it seems to work fine, but I don't know, like I said, if what I might be doing wrong with it. Okay, and that's just going to go there. Okay, so there you go. Again, I'll put a PDF with measurements and whatnot on my blog. I'm just looking at this. Actually, one's smaller than the other. Maybe I did do it. I don't know. So anyway, there you go. Slider card with your paper pumpkin kit. Give it a try. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.